was a magnificent weekend of footy, or 5 or 6 days of footy. It started on Wednesday night at the MCG in what has now become the traditional start to Anzac weekend, and Melbourne and Richmond are the two teams that have got the spot, and they're privileged to be a part of it. And something about when the lights go out at the MCG and the Eternal Flame is lit, it's a superb atmosphere, and some would suggest that was the most exciting part of the night, to be perfectly honest. Let's ask Jake Lever, who's wandered in and has been good enough to join us. Jakey, welcome first of all. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's a hard watch on Wednesday night, to be honest.
Yes, it was. It was hard to play in for that first half. I just thought the skill and the execution wasn't there from both sides. At half-time, I remember bringing the group in and just almost had to reset and forget about it, because you don't want those demons coming into the second half of footy, which I thought we didn't.
The atmosphere, just on the occasion though, I mean, you will have played in quite a few of these now. We can only look on and watch enviously. It would have been pretty special to be a part of. Yeah,
it's a super special night. It's definitely my favourite game of the year to be able to play in. And I was just looking at that vision before, and I was standing next to Caleb Windsor, who's only played a handful of games, and I remember looking at him and just giving him a big smile after that, because you get goosebumps, and to be able to play in that game when the horse is going around the oval, it's pretty special.
You're in pretty good shape this year, though. You started in pretty good nick, and you've got a healthy squad. Healthy squad, ready to go. What about your defenders? How you holding up back there?
Yeah, we're doing all right.
Stephen May, all right?
He has his good days and bad days, the big fella. It's always a topic of conversation within my wife's family and his family that we just argue all the time out there. We're like an old married couple, but I think it's just how we get the best out of each other. And he's obviously a fantastic player. See there, him spoiling me. We do that a fair bit, but we're really healthy at the minute. So he's got the same face. So. Yeah, I always try and give him a bit back, because I feel like sometimes he wants to get his frustration out, but I've got my level of frustration as well.
What's it look like in the locker room? So, or on the track? Does it all bubble up when you sort of get to these moments? Or, I mean, obviously there's a great understanding.
Yeah, I think it's just that. I think it's just the respect that we have for each other out in the footy field. In the locker room, we just joke all the time. I absolutely love playing with Steve, and we had a little bit of trouble early on, especially with that sort of stuff. When we first started playing together, we'd spoil each other and we'd argue, but now it's just, I feel like once we have that argument, we just move on straight away.
What about his toughness? We saw a couple of weeks ago, broken rib, might have even been some vertebrae there, some damage, a hamstring in a final. Like he plays with injury and toughs it out for the team.
Yeah, he's a super competitive person. I think that's where it boils down from. And for him, that game against Adelaide, he came to me at quarter time, the big fella, and he said to me, "Oh, look, I'm struggling. He's got me in the ribs here." But I just said to him, I said, "You're the best player on the ground at the minute, mate. I don't think you need to complain." But he's like, the grand final is a great story, for someone to hurt their hamstring, and he's had a lot of soft tissues sort of previous to that, so you can have those mental demons, but he's just so tough, and he just wants to win for the team. That's what I love about him.
And at the end of the day, since the premiership, you've finished in the top four, haven't been able to win the finals, but the one consistent has been your back six. So the numbers have been outstanding. We'll have a look at it now for yourself personally, but also for the group. So, clearly you two are the cornerstone of that. What do you think? Why do you think it works so well?
I think it probably gets down to the way that we train. I think that as a footy club, we really pride ourselves on the way that we train, and I think me and Steve really drive the team defence stuff.
How proud are you of that? I mean, that's not over 4 weeks. That's over 4 years. That the hardest team to play against, hardest team to score against.
Yeah, and I think that's what we sort of walk in on Monday morning, and when we look at our review, that's sort of what we look at, and it's been something that, as you said, that hasn't been a 4-week period. We've tried to build that over 4 years, and I think when I first got to the footy club, it wasn't a great strength of Melbourne, but to be able to have that, on the piece of paper and on the wall, we're pretty proud of it. But we've got some amazing young players in the backline too. I think that you said it's been consistent. Probably the last 3 or 4 weeks, we've had some changes down there. Like obviously we lost Jake Bowie and Christian Salem to injury, but the guys like Blake Howes, Taj Wowoda and Judd McVie obviously had an amazing year last year. He's a superstar, and I think we've got one of the best young backline players in the competition in Trent Rivers. I absolutely love the way he plays. So, and then big Tommy Mack, who's gone forward for 5 or 6 years, has come down and fitted in nicely.
So you speak about Tommy Mack going forward and Harrison Petty. 60 games ago, you play that last 45 minutes over in Perth and you just smash a side with your offensive brilliance. Have you been searching for that ever since? And how elusive is it for you to find that attacking footy to balance up with those defensive numbers to take full toll?
I think if you look at probably the 3 games that we played in the final series, the one at Adelaide Oval and then the 2 in Perth, the way that we played, it was phenomenal. Like, you look at it and I've never seen a team play as well as that in terms of the way that we're able to play. Just everything clicked at once. So, as you said, sometimes you get a bit of a false sense of what you can produce and you're always searching for that perfection. And that's what we've been speaking a lot about in the last couple of years is not just think that that's just going to roll out. So for us, as you said, our offensive stuff, I thought, previous couple of years has been a big work on, but I feel like we've done really well this year. We're probably not, getting as many opportunities or inside 50 as we, have been in previous years, but I feel like we're a little bit more efficient. And that forward line, you name some of the players that are playing there now: Petty, Van Ruin, Daniel Turner now. Like, they have played no football
Did
together.
you think Turner was a forward?
Yeah, look, he was telling me he was a forward, but I didn't see it at training or anything like that. But then what he produced on Wednesday night was pretty phenomenal. So, Disco, as we call him, he's a lovely character. He's my buddy, so I'm super proud of him to be able to kick 3 snags. I said to him maybe he can hand one off next week.
Just your observations of Max Gawn, because I think he's All-Australian ruckman at this stage. 5 out of his 7 games have been magnificent. Your observations coming from another club, and how does he continue to do it? I think he'd be going for his 7th All-Australian this year, and he just seems to be getting better and better.
He's never satisfied, the big fella. I think that's what makes him so great. He always works hard. In the off-season, he's the first bloke that's texting everyone about getting down, doing some running. It's either Rye Oval or up in the city where he lives. So
he trains all the time
he just does the stuff. You can see, I think, what the best thing about Max is he really wears down his opponent. He loves the grind. You can see that he just loves playing football. And he just loves playing that ruck role, number 1 ruck role all the time. So I think that the best thing about him is how hard he works, and he's a great skipper. I love him.
You are a genuine leader at this club. I've seen you in action. You're vocal. It's just fantastic for the supporter group to have someone like you there. It's been a tumultuous couple of years, let's be honest, since probably since the grand final, and you're losing finals, and some off-field issues that have emerged, and the culture word gets bandied around a lot. Give us your take on it. Was it justified criticism? Where do you see it sit now? What's your role been in it all?
Well, I wouldn't say it's justified. I think that the frustrating thing is that some of the people that comment don't get to live it every day like we do. So as leaders of the football club, you walk in and you think that you've got a strong culture and you've got strong connection with your teammates, and when you see some of the stuff that's been written, you sort of sit there and go, that's not very true. But I think what we spoke about this year is we can sort of say all we want. In the end, it's going to be the actions and what the fans see from us on game day and during the week. And I think that that's one thing that we've been trying to focus on, because in the end, we can say as much as we want. We have a great culture, everything like that, but the actions are going to be the things that the fans and everyone in the football population want to see. So I think that's what we've been trying to focus on this year, and I feel like we're doing a pretty good job at the minute.
Had your time in Adelaide and started there, cut your teeth as a young player. You've come across to a big club in Victoria, in Melbourne. Do you run out in front of the red and blue army, and is it everything that you thought that it would be when you made that decision?
Yes, I obviously started at Adelaide. I absolutely loved my time there. 3 years to play in front of, every year we got better and end up playing in the grand final in 2017, and 50,000 Crows fans are pretty good to play in front of too. But to be able to come to the NSA...
Even now?
No, not so much anymore. Every time I get the ball, they boo me. But, the MCG, I just absolutely love going there every week. And it's funny, you don't probably take full advantage of it because... I spoke to Jack Billings, who's played a lot of football for St Kilda, and his first game at the MCG against the Doggies this year in round 1, he said that was like the 8th or 9th game that he's played at the MCG. That's it. Right. And we play there every second week, and sometimes 3 or 4 weeks in a row. So I think that puts it into perspective, and I absolutely love running out in front of the fans, and hopefully this Saturday night's going to be a big crowd.
Just an overall issue, big topic. You're a leader in the game. Obviously, the head knocks and concussions probably the biggest topic in our game. It's challenging for you guys as players. You have to go in there and live in the contest week in, week out. What's your mental approach been to tackling and approaching certain contests, especially aerial contests?
I think probably aerials still the same as it was. It's probably more the tackling stuff. You know, you can see week to week there's incidences that are really challenging for both players. I think that when you go to tackle, you got to think that there's another guy trying to fight it who's probably 80, 90, 100 kilos. So you're going to have to put some force into it. But I think you can see clearly what the AFL don't want. They don't want the slam tackle head into the turf, which in the end, I think it's just sort of luck of the draw at the minute, you know, whether that player's fighting it too much or not fighting enough. So, yeah, I think that you can clearly see what the AFL want out of it, and I think it's good for the game because I lost a pretty important teammate in Angus Brayshaw to concussion, so you can see clearly what they want.
You were tackled to the ground a couple of weeks ago. Did you make a little bit more of that than there was?
Oh, no, not for Charlie's sake. Me and him are mates. And I just said to him afterwards.
But it's instinct, is it not?
Yeah, I think like as soon as my head hit the floor, it was just kind of a reaction going, oh, I reckon I can.
I'm on here.
I reckon I can get a free here. I told him afterwards, I said, big fella, you had me holding the ball. I don't know why you did that anyway. So, but in the end, you want to see great players playing, and Charlie obviously played the next week, but you can just clearly see that what the AFL want out of it. And I think, as I said, lost a pretty important teammate, so you can clearly see what.
Hey mate, we appreciate you coming in. It is massive Saturday night. We've been trying to work out how to play Geelong. Us three nuffies haven't got any idea. I guess you've been scouting them all week. Do you get Cameron? Do you get Tom? Ollie?
Yeah, so lucky enough after the Wednesday we had 4 days off, which was nice. So first day back in the club today was a lot about learning from our Richmond game, but I'm sure we'll have a look at Geelong because we had a little look and 7-0, you can't be there if you're not a good side. So they're a formidable forward line, so I'm looking forward to the challenge. But I don't know who gets those players because they're all pretty handy, and I think it's going to be a challenge.
You'll have a go at some stage. Hey, we really appreciate you coming in. The Demons are going nicely 5-2, fourth in the ladder, and a massive game on Saturday. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks very much.
The Demons take on the Blues in 2 weeks' time. We mic'd up Nick Newman on the weekend. He had a bit to say.
We want shape behind the footy. Yep. So if it goes to a contest, if you're not impacting that in the air, we've got to have some cover there. Let's go, come on. Hey! Oi, good composure. Oi, Kempy, back. Get back. Surge. Ollie, you can tighten up. Kempy's gone. Hey, if you're on the back and you see a mid and sweeper, just push him in. Yeah, so Cripper's sweeping, just tell him to get in at the front. It's all good. Again! Whoa!